Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So on this episode, we're going to continue with a 6-speed swap out at E36. So we've got the engine in the car now. It's got the new 6-speed DZ gearbox. We've just got to button it up now, and then we'll have it started and hopefully on the road soon. If you do get any value out of the video, don't forget to chuck it a like, chuck it a subscribe. It's literally free and helps me out so much, so thanks for doing that, guys. But yeah, enough chit chat, let's get into it. Pretty much the engine's just sitting in there right now. Nothing's really attached, so plan of attack is going to be to get the power steering system back in. It's just sort of sitting there, so we'll get that bolted into place. We've got to do the exhaust headers. We've taken the headers off to get the engine out. I'd actually really recommend doing that. It was a lot easier. You don't have to have the headers hitting the steering shaft, which is a big pain in the ass. So yeah, we're gonna do that. Also got to do the new fan here, the new pulley system once that's in, and then yeah, we can get started on the wiring and all that jazz. So let's just get into it. We just picked up our drive shaft. Look at that beauty. That is amazing. You can see this is the old auto tail shaft. So you can see it's been extended by 30 millimeters. So that should hopefully be the right way to go. I'm also going to just get a paint pen and mark here, because if you loosen this locking collar and then you fully extend it out so it attaches, you will lose the balance in your drive shaft. So I've done that before and had to rebalance about drive shaft, so you don't want to do that again. So I'm just going to mark this up so I'm not going to make that mistake. Also, another little upgrade that we're going to do is we're actually going to swap the headers out for M52 headers. So these are the old M51s. They're just cast units. They're rather heavy. These are obviously not cast. I believe they're stainless. Doesn't say there. But yeah, these are M52 headers, a lot lighter, and allegedly they make a little bit more power, a little bit better for flow, but we'll see. We've just had to block off the O2 ports with these little bungs here. I'll chuck on the screen what size they are if you are following at home. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, so we'll chuck those in now. Should just pretty much be a straight swap, and then the exhaust will just bolt on like normal. All right, so we just popped the headers in there. You can see we've got all fresh new hardware. So we're actually running N54 studs and nuts. So the nuts are a lot longer, a lot easier to get at. Just nice to use them. Good little upgrade if you are going to be taking the headers off like we are potentially. But yeah, so we've pretty much just going to move on to doing all the wiring. We're going to get rid of all this rat's nest and do it up nicely. We'll put the cowl back there and then do all this wiring here. And then we should be right to try give it a first start. All right, so we're just gonna try to start it now. We've just taken the fuel pump fuse out. So the fuel pump will be running just so we can crank it a few times. Make sure she's all good, just check the oil again and such. Don't need to check if it's in gear because the shifter is not even connected or the drive shaft isn't, so we'll just try. Just double check we've got some oil. Oh yeah, she's got oil. Let's plug that fuse back in, it's fuse 18. All right, let's try start it. Come on. I think she's good. Well, she runs. Sweet. That was perfect. Headers are a little bit smoky as expected. They're not even tightened down, so probably a bunch of exhaust leaks there anyway. Everything seemed to be all good. Can't see that there's any leaks, which is a good sign. It's also going to go with a new fan and clutch. E36 Daddy, aka Chelsea Denofa, recommends going with an E34 V8 clutch and a Euro fan, which is what we have there on the side. Basically, because it's got that ring around it. If you do happen to nick the radiator, front end collision or anything like that, it'll just bounce off the radiator and it's not going to pierce it, so you'll still be good to go. Also, this fan clutch apparently sits closer to the engine, so that it'll be a lot less room, or a lot more room, sorry, behind the radiator for the fan. And if you do have a collision, obviously it's not going to be right there and explode your radiator. The lockup characteristics allegedly of this are a lot better as well, which is why people run them. But yeah, we'll whack that in now. So the next thing we're going to tackle is the radiator. We're just going to chuck the old radiator back in. It's already a full aluminium unit, a lot better than the stock plastic one that has plastic end tanks. We'll chuck in the hoses and then we'll run the overflow tank or overflow hose there. Obviously, you may have noticed we just have bypassed the heater core. See if I can get you down there. But yeah, basically this blue hose, apologies, couldn't get it in black, runs to the back of the timing chain cover and deletes all the other hoses. And there's no hoses going to the heater core, which you probably can't even see, but it's back there. And it's all blocked off from the back of the head. So then we've just got this hose, which simplifies things a lot. I think it was a lot easier to bleed last time as well. So yeah, we're just gonna do that now. Alright, so the radiator's all done now. You can see he's all in there. It was a bit tricky just having the fan still in there and just having to deal with all the hoses and everything. It's a pretty tight fit, so managed to do it, but probably should have just taken the fan off, but I already mounted it and stuff, so I didn't want to do that. Next thing that we're going to get to is just the front end. So we're just going to get this front end support back on, and yeah, we'll start with putting the front end back together. So front end is on. A little bit tricky. It's quite a lot going on. A lot of the plastic is kind of tricky to put in, but I think we got in the right spot now. Yeah, we're just going to continue with the front end. I've just kept everything loose just because it'll move around until we put the rib, the front bar and all that jazz on. We'll just chuck on the nose cone now, and yeah, let's do it. Wow, we're really smashing through it now. It's starting to look like a car, which is great. So we've got the wiring harness ran all from that side across to this side. Just gonna chuck the headlights back in, and that should pretty much be most of the front end all back together. Obviously we're gonna tighten the hood pins, just do that at the end, and yeah. All right, front end is back on. Actually looking like a car, which is amazing. I'm gonna be really quick here because my battery's dying and literally everything's gonna die. But yeah, that's me done for the day. We'll kick back off later. We'll do the drive shaft and the crossmember and all that jazz. But yeah, super stoked with the car being back together and actually looking like a car, which is insane. Hey guys, so we haven't got the crossmember or the shifter rod modified to suit the car yet. So I'm actually gonna head to Pilchie's now and smash out that fabrication. Obviously I can't weld, so Pilchie's gonna do it, but I'll take you guys along for the ride. Just at Pilchie's now, so we've just got the two jigs here we're gonna use. That's jig for the shifter rod, obviously, and that's jig for the crossmember. So we'll just cut some metal, we'll be good to go. Let's go. all done. She's looking mint. Yummy. Yeah, there's the shifter rod and there's the Crossmember. Just needs a coat of paint. She'll be good to go back in the car. Hey guys, so it's a new day now. We smashed out the Crossmember last night. Just chucked a coat of paint on it. It's pretty much all done now. You can see that's what we've ended up with. Basically the box will go in these mounts and then obviously these mounts will go onto the body. It's not 100% job. We were kind of a bit tight for time. Look, we could really grind down the welds, make it look all pretty, but at the end of the day, it works. No one's really gonna see it anyway. It's gonna be in the car, so I'm happy with it. So I'll show you the laundry list of things that we still have to do. We still have to tighten the headers. We can't tighten the headers until we put the exhaust on just because the headers move around, so the exhaust won't be able to be put on. Obviously put the exhaust on, the heat shield, the shifter rod, again, that we've just mentioned, and the transmission cross member. We've got to fill the car with coolant and obviously bleed it. We've also got a pressure tester so we can pop that on the rad and then basically be able to check for any leaks, that sort of thing. A lot easier. And we've also got to machine a little spacer. I'll show you what's happened with the transmission cross member. So if you can see there, the threads are basically gone. So I couldn't actually get the nut off. I actually had to cut the nut off to get it out. So what we'll have to do is we'll just have to make a spacer. Not sure if I'll make it out of Delrin or Alley, but just to space it up so we can use these threads that are still good to tighten it down. And yeah, there should be enough threads there. I was thinking about maybe cutting it, but then if we cut it with the thickness of the metal, I don't think there's going to be enough thread engagement. I think it's a M8, so we need about 8 mil of thread engagement, and the steel here is about 5 mil, so it would be too small. So I've just machined up this little spacer. You can see the damaged threads. Obviously this just goes on top like so, and then the damaged threads won't get used. Obviously you have the thickness of the cross member as well, so that's going to add to it, and hopefully we'll still have enough threads protruding. Yeah, that should be all good. We've got all the hardware now. I'm just going to dummy it up and chuck it in the car. Not sure how much I'll be able to show you. Obviously it's really hard to film under the car, but look, we'll just see how we go. All right, so under the car now, bit of a tight squeeze. There, you can see here, we've got the box. It is at a 10-degree angle, I believe. Okay, so it seems like in true E36, just trying to get the car done fashion, we have hit a snag. So this gearbox mount obviously is supposed to go in there, and as you can see, the mounts do not line up at all. Believe what's maybe happened is we have the wrong mount. So this mount here is wrong. So I'm gonna have to do some research, look at real OEM, see what is going on, but yeah, it's not looking good. All right, so it's a new day now. We managed to get a new one of these. So you can see here, Pilchy's just fab one up for us. Not pretty, but it'll do the job. But yeah, it just slides on there. I've just confirmed that it does fit with the mounts. Now we'll just have to bolt it up to the trans and then pop the cross member in. Hopefully everything works out. Hey guys, so we're still having issues with the gearbox. I think the drive shaft angle just isn't 100% correct, just because the cross member is just probably holding it a little bit too high. So what we're going to do is we're just going to shim the gearbox up, or down actually, where we want it to be, and then we'll just limp it to Pilchy's and get him to just modify the cross member accordingly. So I'll just show you now what we're dealing with under the car, and then yeah, we'll get cracking. All right, so this is what we're dealing with under the car. Not ideal. Yeah, you can see our transmission mount is basically just made up with a couple shims, but look, they're just alley. I'm pretty sure that's going to be strong enough. We just put a nylock washer on as well. I've basically tried to shim the gearbox down as far down as possible, basically, so the angle of the drive shaft is 0. It's pretty much 0. I'm not sure if we can get there and see, but yeah, it's got to be good enough just to get us there. It's just literally like a 20-minute drive, so it should be chilled. There's not really much force here. It's pretty tight in there, so pretty confident. Maybe I'll add some zip ties up here just for a bit extra support, but
confident that should hold. Should be good enough. It's got solid engine mounts anyway. Just gonna smash out putting the exhaust on, and yeah, the heat shield, I'll just leave the X-brace off for now, and then we'll connect the O2 sensor. I'm just gonna smash it out now. It's gonna be really hard to film, and then we'll limp it to Pilchies and modify this Crossmember to work.
All right, so we've just bled the coolant system, filled it up with new coolant. It was easy peasy. She's up to operating temperature now, so she's all good to go. We've tightened the front wheels and we've got oil in the engine, so we can rip those off. But yeah, now we're just gonna limp to Pilchies, and then we'll smash out the rest of the Crossmember. Hopefully it'll get us there. It's a little bit janky, the setup, but it is what it is. Should be right. But yeah, we'll see you there. All right, so just made to Pilchies, all good. Dodgy as transition now. Just got the exhaust off now. We'll just cut the old one and re-weld it.
So we'll do that, and that way we can pack it a lot easier. Yeah, easy. Make it similar up, eh? Hey.
We're just giving the Crossmember a sniff. And we're just supporting the gearbox where we want it to be, and then we'll chuck it and re-weld it. So we've just got with the digital angle finder there, we've got the drive shaft angle at about 1 degree. It's pretty much fine within spec because the lift is out by like 0.5 degree or 0.3 of a degree, so it's within spec. Doing the final welding on the Crossmember, and yeah, we'll just chuck it back on. The exhaust was a bit tricky, the clearance here couldn't really get right, so we've just had to massage the exhaust slightly there, cut this heat shielding off, giving us a little bit more room to be able to get to the mount there. But yeah, apart from that, she's all good. Just doing the final welding on the Crossmember, and then whack her on and she should be all good to go. Alright, here's the final product. She's tucked up in there nicely. But yeah, just having issues with clearance here, but just cleared it now, so she's mint. Got so much clearance.
Oh dude, your head gasket is gonna go.
Oh no. Oh no. Here's the final product that we ended up with at Pilchies. We've basically reduced the angle here quite a significant amount. This one here, we just basically cut that and then bent it up. Basically welded that where it was. And then we just had to add this extension piece there, so it just goes up like that. Yeah, pretty much just gonna clean it up now just because we basically just whipped some paint on to get me home. But yeah, I'll just cut this old piece off. I might cut these pieces on the side off, just drop a bit of weight. But yeah, apart from that, and then we'll just wire wheel it down and chuck on some new hammer finish, and should be all good to go.
Okay, so it's actually a little bit in the future now. We ended up just getting the new Crossmember on, obviously just fitting it back up. We already knew the fit was gonna be good and the drive shaft angle was all correct. So we've actually done that now. Yeah, I actually think the issue is, and why Pilchies mounts originally didn't work, is I'm not sure if it's gonna be super obvious, but the exhaust is hanging super low there. But pretty much, I think what's happened is when we went to stab the engine mounts into the front subframe, I think there's a couple different holes, and I may have stabbed it on ones that were lower. So the entire engine and gearbox now is sitting a lot lower. It's not really too much of an issue. It's just that obviously that exhaust is rather low. So we just have to watch out on bumps and stuff like that. But yeah, apart from that, the car is awesome. I didn't really have enough time to film or anything just because we were rushing to get it ready for its first drift event with the 6-speed. So I'm just gonna go for a drive now, and I'll just explain the swap and sort of finish it off. All right, so obviously the car now, just going for a drive. Obviously, like I said, this isn't my first drive. We're trying to get the car ready for its first drift event with the new gearbox. So we're all hands on deck to try to get it done for that. Didn't really have enough time to film or anything, so really sorry. But in terms of how the first drive went down, it was fine. Literally like no issues at all. Pretty much like was ripping first go. So super happy with how it went. Obviously the first gear and second gear are a little bit shorter. They're pretty noticeable. You can really notice it in first. In second, it's a little bit noticeable, but yeah, pretty much everything feels good. The clutch pedal feels pretty much normal. There's a little bit of play on the top of it. I'm not sure what's happening with that, but yeah, so super happy with how it's all turned out. Obviously it's really good because on the highway you can just chuck it in sixth and you know, it's no worries, you can just keep cruising. We could almost even go down to a 364 or 363 diff, I believe it is. So that pretty much concludes this series. We obviously have completed all the work now. The next video is actually going to be us testing out the car, seeing how it actually fares, drifting, how the gearbox goes, how the new clutch goes and all that jazz. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Make sure you like, comment, sub, all that great stuff. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!